Bonnie Tyler's family has broken their silence after her reported sudden death. As fans mourn the legendary singer, her husband of over 50 years revealed a heartbreaking detail from her final days in hospital. Let's break down the last promise he had to make at her bedside. Let's start with what actually came out. On the morning of July 9th, a message appeared on Bonnie Tyler's official website and her social media pages. Bonnie's family and team are heartbroken to announce that Bonnie unexpectedly passed away last night in hospital in Portugal, as a result of the illness that she was being treated from. The statement closed by asking for privacy, saying more details would come later. We will issue a further statement shortly, but for now ask for privacy to deal with this tragedy. Her manager, Matt Davis, echoed that same message directly to TMZ, confirming her family and team were heartbroken to announce that Bonnie unexpectedly passed away Wednesday night in a hospital in Portugal as a result of the illness that she was being treated for. TMZ ran the news within hours, and from there it spread everywhere. BBC, NBC, ITV, The Washington Post, all confirming the same core facts inside minutes of each other. She was 75. Now here's where the second half of this story comes in, the reactions. Because the second this statement went up, tributes started pouring in from people who actually knew her, not just fans who grew up on her records. Catherine Zeta-Jones was one of the first. This wasn't some distant industry tribute. Tyler was actually family to her. Zeta-Jones is related to Tyler's husband, and in her Instagram post, she said her heart is broken with the news that our dearest Bonnie Tyler has passed away. She talked about Tyler singing at her wedding, remembering her as one of the funniest people she had ever met, and closed with a Welsh farewell about keeping a welcome in the hillsides for her. It's a small detail, but it says a lot. This wasn't a co-star or a colleague issuing a polite line. This was someone who'd had Tyler standing up singing at her own wedding, decades before any of this happened. Then came Rod Stewart. He referenced his own live cover of one of Tyler's songs in a post on Instagram, talking about how the two of them shared similar styles of vocalizing. Two artists built around that same rough, worn-in rasp that made both of their voices instantly recognizable on the radio. Tony Hadley, the Spandau Ballet frontman, posted on X calling her an incredible woman. So kind and friendly to me as a young artist. Over the years, we met several times, and she was always the same Bonnie. Her voice was truly amazing, and standing next to her, you really got to feel her power. And it didn't stop with musicians. Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies praised her as the fabulous singer whom he had loved since his teens. Even Downing Street weighed in. A spokesperson said Sir Keir Starmer was saddened to hear of her death, saying the Welsh singer was one of Britain's greatest recording artists. Cliff Richard called her a wonderful friend gone too soon, saying her infectious zest for life entertained so many around the world. Former Genesis singer Ray Wilson called her such a lovely person and a real legend. Bryan Adams shared his own tribute once the news broke. Broadcaster Carol Vorderman told her followers that in Wales, Tyler is regarded as a legend, particularly amongst women. Even people outside music and politics chimed in. Radio presenters who'd interviewed her decades ago, festival organizers who'd booked her for summer slots, all posting some version of the same disbelief. So that's the immediate picture. A family statement confirming the death was sudden. A manager backing it up on record, and a wave of people, actors, singers, a TV showrunner, the Prime Minister's office, all responding within the same day. That's the scale of what happened when this news landed. But to understand why the family called it unexpected, despite everything that came before, you need to go back to May. Because this wasn't a death that came out of nowhere in the medical sense. It followed a health battle that had been playing out publicly for weeks. The whole thing traces back to early May. Her team put out a statement on her website saying she'd been rushed into emergency surgery at a hospital in Faro, a city in Portugal where she'd had a home for years. The gravelly-voiced, Grammy-nominated Welsh pop star was hospitalized in May in Faro, where she had a home, for emergency intestinal surgery. Reports later specified it was surgery for a perforated intestine, the kind of operation that's serious no matter your age, let alone at 75. The day after the surgery, her manager told Entertainment Weekly that doctors had made a call to protect her recovery. Bonnie has been put into an induced coma by her doctors to aid her recovery. We know that you all wish her well and ask for privacy at this difficult time, please. We will issue a further statement when we are able to. That's when the waiting started. Fans had almost nothing to go on for days. No updates, no photos, nothing beyond that one line about an induced coma. Then about a week later, a second update landed, describing her as seriously ill but stable, with doctors still saying they were hopeful. That same message did something else too. It pushed back on rumors swirling out of a Portuguese outlet, with her family stating flatly that a man named Liberto Milha does not represent them in any way whatsoever, and asking press to stop running with unverified stories. It was a strange side note to have to address in the middle of a medical crisis, but it showed how quickly unofficial voices were trying to fill the silence her family had asked for. Then, in the middle of June, the update fans had been waiting weeks for finally came. Bonnie is no longer in a coma, but remains very unwell and in intensive care in hospital in Portugal. Although her condition is improving, it is a slow process. Her doctors remain confident that she will make a good recovery, but it is going to take time. That statement read like relief. She'd made it out of the coma. Doctors were confident. It wasn't a full recovery yet, but it was moving in the right direction. Off the back of that, her team confirmed the practical fallout of the whole ordeal. Every show through the end of August was being scrapped or pushed. We are sorry to tell everyone that we will be canceling or postponing until next year where possible all of our remaining shows this summer. This will affect every current show until the end of August. At present, we are still hopeful that our shows in the autumn will go ahead. Her calendar going into that summer had been packed. European dates through the end of May, festival slots through the warmer months, and a full run booked from October through December after a planned break in September. All of that summer block got wiped out in one update. The autumn dates were the thing everyone was holding onto. The statement even ended on a note of thanks, telling fans she was aware of the support pouring in and grateful for it, and promising more news only when there was something real to share. For about 3 weeks after that, that's where things sat. No coma in intensive care, improving but slow, autumn still possible. It read like a story heading toward a comeback, not an ending. Fans were sharing old tour posters, talking about which show they'd try to get to in October, treating the autumn run almost like a symbolic finish line for the whole ordeal. Which is exactly why the next twist confused so many people. Because before the real news broke, a fake version of it already had. Here's the part of this story that makes the ending land so much harder. In the days before Tyler actually died, a false report already claimed she had. It started with a Facebook page. Someone put up a page titled RIP Bonnie Tyler, and it picked up traction fast. Nearly 1 million likes in a short window. The About section gave a detailed, convincing account of her passing, right down to a time and date, telling readers she died that Tuesday morning and would be missed but not forgotten. Fans panicked. Tributes started going up. People shared old performance clips, wrote out condolences, tagged friends who'd grown up on her music. And then the next day, her representatives shut it down completely, confirming she was alive at that point and recovering. She joins the long list of celebrities who have been victimized by this hoax. She's still alive and well. Stop believing what you see on the internet, they said. That denial was accurate. At that specific moment, she was alive, still in that hospital in Faro, still fighting through recovery. Outlets ran headlines confirming the rumors were false, urging people to rely only on official statements and stop amplifying things they'd seen shared and reshared without any source behind them. One outlet noted that the whole situation showed how fast rumors can spread during moments of public concern, particularly when a celebrity is hospitalized. Fans reacted in 2 directions. Some were furious, calling the fake report reckless and distressing, a cruel thing to do to people already worried sick about someone they loved. Others took a different read, saying the sheer size of the reaction was proof of how much she still meant to people. Decades past her chart peak. Either way, for a few days, her name was trending for a death that hadn't happened yet. And then, within days, the real thing happened. The story the hoax had invented weeks earlier turned out to be true just later and for real. Her actual death was confirmed directly by her family and her manager, not an anonymous Facebook page with no name attached to it. There was no ambiguity this time. No pushback from her team. No follow-up statement saying it was false. Just the same voices who had denied it the first time now confirming it themselves. That sequence of fake death rumor, a firm denial, then a real one so close behind it, is part of why this hit fans as hard as it did. They'd already been through the shock once, been told it wasn't true, allowed themselves to relax. Then it happened anyway, just for real, and from the people who actually knew. It also explains why so many outlets were careful with their language when the real news broke. The BBC, NBC, and other major outlets went out of their way to note that this time, the confirmation had come straight from her family's own statement and her manager on record. Not a page nobody could verify. Some outlets even referenced the earlier hoax directly in their obituaries, almost as a warning to readers not to assume this was another false alarm. So that's the strange loop this story ran through. Rumor, denial, truths. Now let's step back from the hospital and the headlines for a bit and talk about who she actually was. Because the reason all of this made global news isn't just the manner of her death. It's the 6-decade career behind the name. Her name wasn't originally Bonnie Tyler. She was born Gaynor Hopkins in Swansea, Wales, more specifically in a town called Skewen in Neath. Her father, Glyndwr Hopkins, was a coal miner, and her mother, Elsie, née Lewis. She grew up in a council house with 3 sisters and 2 brothers. Music wasn't glamorous in that household growing up. She grew up listening to Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, and the Beatles, though her favorites were Janis Joplin and Tina Turner, and she had a deeply religious background, attending chapel 3 times a day on Sundays. Her break came from a talent scout who heard her cover a Frida Payne's song in a local competition, and that led to her signing with RCA Records, where she took on the stage name that would carry her career. 2 years after signing, she had surgery on her vocal cords, nodule surgery, and it changed her voice permanently, giving her the raspy, husky sound that became her signature. Without that surgery, there's a real chance Total Eclipse of the Heart sounds nothing like the version everyone knows. It's an odd thing to think about. The sound that made her instantly recognizable on the radio for 40 years came out of an operation that was supposed to fix a problem, not create a trademark. Her first big chart moment came with It's a Heartache in the late 70s, a song that reached the top 5 in the UK and did well internationally too. But the real turning point came when she started working with the American composer and producer Jim Steinman. He's the one who wrote her 2 biggest songs, Total Eclipse of the Heart and Holding Out for a Hero. By her own account, she heard Total Eclipse for the first time when Steinman played it for her on piano, and she said she couldn't believe he was giving the song to her. That track came out in 1983 and spent 4 weeks at #1 on both sides of the Atlantic. It sold in the millions as a single and eventually crossed 1 billion streams, a number boosted every time an actual solar eclipse happens anywhere in the world, because radio stations reliably dust it off and play it. She once told GMA that she never gets tired of it, joking that it gets even more exciting when there's a real eclipse happening at the same time. Beyond those 2 songs, her catalog runs deep. Lost in France, If You Were a Woman, Straight from the Heart, More Than a Lover, Making Love, and plenty more across 18 studio albums, the most recent released back in 2021. She wasn't a one-hit act, writing a single song for 50 years. She kept releasing music well into her 70s, including 2 new singles in 2026 alone, one of them tied to a documentary about homelessness that started streaming that same spring. She represented the UK at Eurovision in 2013 with a song called Believe in Me, finishing 19th. 10 years after that, she was made an MBE for her services to music, named in the Queen's birthday honors list. Industry-wise, she also holds a distinction that doesn't get talked about enough. She was the first British female artist to debut at #1 on the UK albums chart, and to this day she remains the only Welsh artist to ever have a UK #1 single. Her personal life stayed relatively private compared to her career. She married a property developer and former Olympic judo athlete back in the early 70s, and the 2 stayed together for over 5 decades. She didn't have children, and she was open about that being a source of real regret. She'd said she and her husband kept putting it off, telling themselves next year, and by the time she tried, she was 39 and suffered a miscarriage. She told The Guardian that not starting earlier was one regret she carried, and she talked about it plainly, without much sentimentality, the same way she talked about most things in interviews. That marriage is also the thread that connects her to Catherine Zeta-Jones, since the 2 families were linked through it, which is part of why Zeta-Jones's tribute felt less like a celebrity statement and more like someone genuinely mourning a relative. As for her retirement plans, there weren't any. Around the release of her last album, she told The Sun she was still fit for her age and had zero interest in slowing down, pointing to Tom Jones as proof that Welsh singers just keep going. She said she was never going to retire. She talked about touring the way some people talk about a job they genuinely enjoy, something she planned to keep doing for as long as her body let her. That's the woman behind the headline, a coal miner's daughter from South Wales, who became the only Welsh artist with a UK #1, sang one of the most streamed power ballads in music history, and was still releasing new songs and planning autumn tour dates in the same year she died. So where does this leave things now? The tributes haven't stopped since the family statement went out. Beyond the names already mentioned, industry figures and fans across the UK, US, Canada, and Australia have kept sharing memories and old clips, with Total Eclipse of the Heart seeing another wave of streams in the days since. The same pattern that happened every time an actual eclipse crossed the sky, except this time triggered by grief instead of astronomy. An official cause of death hasn't been released beyond what her family already said, that it was tied to the illness she'd been treated for since the emergency surgery back in May. No further medical detail has come from her team, and as of the days right after her death, no funeral arrangements had been announced either. Her family's public position has stayed consistent through the entire ordeal, from the first coma update all the way through the final statement. They've asked repeatedly for privacy while they deal with what they called a tragedy. Her team's plans for the autumn shows are now obviously off the table, closing out a scheduling saga that had already run from full cancellation through the summer to cautious hope for a return in the colder months. The shows never got the chance to happen. Venues that had been holding October and November dates for her are now left figuring out what to do with tickets that were sold on the promise of a comeback that was supposed to happen once she'd recovered. Some promoters have already started quietly offering refunds, while others are waiting on official word before making any announcement, which means fans who bought tickets months ago are stuck in limbo, unsure whether to hold onto a ticket stub as a keepsake or ask for their money back. What's left is the response, and it's worth sitting with how wide it actually reached. This wasn't confined to music press or UK outlets. American networks like NBC and The Washington Post ran full obituaries within hours. TMZ had it from her own manager. British tabloids and broadsheets alike ran the same core statement side by side with reactions from people who'd actually shared a stage or a friendship with her. A sitting prime minister's office issued a formal reaction. That's a rare spread for any entertainer, let alone one who hadn't had a mainstream chart hit in decades. Some of that reach comes down to the song itself. Total Eclipse of the Heart never really left. It's the kind of track that shows up at weddings, karaoke nights, and random late-night radio slots in countries she barely toured in the last 20 years. Her commercial footprint outlived her touring schedule by a wide margin, which is part of why news of her death reached people who might not have followed her career closely at all. They knew the song, even if they hadn't clocked the name behind it in years. And then there's the emotional whiplash built into the timeline itself. Fans went from a fake death rumor to a firm and accurate denial to a real death within the same short stretch. Weeks, not months. That kind of sequence leaves people unsettled in a way a single clean tragedy doesn't. There's a reason so many of the tributes reference disbelief specifically, not just grief. People had already been told once that she was fine. They believed it. Then the real news came from the same people who'd told them that. Her family's statement never tried to soften that whiplash. It called her death unexpected, plainly, without over-explaining. It asked for space. It promised more information when there was something real to share. The same language they'd used through every update since May. Think about what that timeline actually looked like from the outside, week by week, for anyone who was following it in real time. Early May, she's rushed into surgery. A day later, she's in an induced coma. A week after that, she's stable but still serious. Then silence for weeks, filled in by a hoax that convinced almost 1 million people she was already gone. Then a real update saying she's out of the coma and improving. Then more silence, this time real silence. The kind that in hindsight was probably the family bracing for what came next. Then finally, the statement nobody wanted. Laid out like that, it reads less like a single piece of news, and more like a slow unraveling that fans lived through in real time, one update at a time, never quite sure which piece of information to trust. That's part of why the reaction spread as far as it did. It wasn't just people mourning a voice they grew up with. It was people who'd spent 2 months checking for updates, hoping the next one would be good news, and then finally getting an answer they'd been dreading since the first headline about that hospital in Faro. What's clear is that this wasn't a quiet passing that slipped by unnoticed. It was confirmed by name, by her manager, by her official channels, and picked up instantly by outlets on both sides of the Atlantic. Musicians she'd shared decades with, a Doctor Who writer who'd loved her voice since his teens, a prime minister's office, and family connected by marriage all spoke publicly within the same day. That's the shape of what happened when Bonnie Tyler's family finally broke their silence. Not a rumor this time, not a hoax, but a statement they clearly wished they never had to write. And for the people who'd followed the whole arc, from the surgery in May to the coma to the recovery, updates to the false alarm on Facebook, the final statement landed less like breaking news, and more like the last chapter of something they'd been quietly watching unfold for 2 months. Sources: Medium-ass Bonnie Tyler death hoax report. TMZ, Bonnie Tyler dead at 75. NBC News, Bonnie Tyler, singer famed for Total Eclipse of the Heart, dies at 75. ITV News tributes pouring after Bonnie Tyler's death, aged 75. Newsweek, Bonnie Tyler death. Catherine Zeta-Jones mourns singer. Washington Post, Bonnie Tyler, who topped the charts with epic Total Eclipse of the Heart, has died at 75 KVUE. Bonnie Tyler cause of death. What we know about singer's last few months. Yahoo Entertainment. Bonnie Tyler health update. Bonnie Tyler official site. Update on Bonnie's recovery. Fashion Times. Is Bonnie Tyler dead? Family denounces false rumors. https://www.fashiontimes.co.uk/Bonnie Tyler death rumors denied. 1,760,000